Good afternoon, everybody, and I hope that you're having a lovely, cool, early spring afternoon. This is our third lecture for media planning, and I'm going to assume that all of you who are taking this course and listening to this video or watching this video have completed this lesson plan for the week. These are the lesson outcomes that are listed here. Your preparation for this lecture should have comprised reading of chapter 3, and then visiting these websites and watching this video. Also, please make sure that you complete the third quiz on Cole Campus and do the exercise. But the topic that we're going to discuss is finding the right data source. Now, if you've got any questions at all about the chapter that you've read and the material that you've covered, you can contact me and ask me questions either on the group, on the WhatsApp group, or you can ask me in a direct message, or you can email me as well. One way or another, get your question out there to me and I will answer you. That's the most important thing, is asking the questions. But in the meantime, let's look at choosing the right data source for your purposes. Now, I'm on the SAF website right now, South African Audience Research Foundation. And it has already been made official quite a while ago that the Marketing Research Foundation has taken over from SAF. And they have basically been working with Plus 94 Research to create MAPS, which I can only imagine stands for Marketing and Advertising Product Survey, or maybe Marketing Audience Product Survey. I can't really find very much about it on any of these sites. But these are the two that seem to be linked together in this. The Marketing Research Foundation has taken over from SAF. That seems to be official. But there's not really much in the way of information on this website. So I'm going to go back to what I know and look at the South African Audience Research Foundation, because they are a non-profit. They have been operating in South Africa for a very long time, and they give us the lion's share, as it were, of all of the audience data that we use in South Africa in terms of marketing and advertising. So when we look at what kind of data we want, we've got all of these. We've got AMPS, Audience Measurement Product Survey. Oh, this is, I really, my memory is really awful at the moment, but yes. Radio Audience Measurement Survey. So that's RAMS. Then TAMS is Television Audience Measurement Survey. OHMS is Out of Home Measurement Survey. And then we've got our segmentation tools. Now, when we look at the segmentation tools, we look at things like LSMs, Living Standards Measurements, which have been replaced by SEMs. And then we've got an attitudes survey, which is really interesting, and I'm going to focus on that just now. And then also lifestyle and life stages. Okay, and these are all factors that are particularly relevant in accurate target market segmentation. So let's look at, say, this, for example. Living standards measurements, we've got descriptions and demographics. Okay. In attitudes, in fact, I'd like to take you to this one. Specifically because when we were looking at sort of fairly obscure market segmentation bases like psychographics, which maybe sometimes aren't really that easy to understand. Attitudes is the one survey that can help us with that kind of thing, because attitudes form part of the psychographic profile of consumers. So I'm going to go for the most recent one, which is unfortunately a 2013 user's guide. But if you take a look, and I will put these links up with the video, if you take a look at this attitudes user's guide, for example, we've got this introduction, okay? It also looks at this kind of theoretical justification for the survey. We've got a lot of sort of in-text referencing here, which is all academic, which means that we're not just, well, in terms of this survey, it's not just a thumbsuck like Saf said, oh, well, maybe we should do an attitudes research. What do you guys think about that? You know, maybe that would add to our suite of surveys and would make it look rounder and fuller and more appealing to marketers. No, they didn't. They actually went, okay, why are we doing this? And they justified it. And of course, we've got these different components that comprise attitudes. The cognitive, so the beliefs, affective, the feelings, and behavioral, the way that a person acts in response to. Okay? Please excuse my dog. So when we look at this in terms of the W plan, the who, why, when, where, and what, which you'll find on page 55 of your textbook, we apply it to this survey by going, okay, who did the survey? And we know that SAF did the survey. It's got its mark on there. And SAF is a well-recognized research house. Okay? So we can recognize that this is a credible foundation that produces reliable data. Now, the next one is, why was the survey done? And here we have the introduction. So, yes, this is why the survey was done, because attitudes are important in your consumer base. Then, when was it done? Well, this one is quite clearly, here we go, 2013. And so, yes, you can't use this for now, current 2020 data, because it's 7 years old, and a lot of things have changed in 7 years. But you have to check when you look at your data sets. You have to make sure that they are current. This is an example that I'm using, but I would not use this for example for a 2020 campaign, because the data is stale. It's changed. So you have to make sure that you have the most up-to-date data that you can get your hands on. And then you have to ask what was asked. Okay? And we've got a whole bunch of different questions here. They usually go for either agree or disagree, strongly agree, moderately agree, or strongly disagree, very true, true, neutral, false, very false, that kind of thing. So that you have a range of responses that can be captured in the most accurate way across your population database. So, is it worth paying a higher price for a well-known brand? You'll get very true, or it's not true. It's not worth paying a higher price. I like to listen and talk to people in my home language. And so you see that we've got a lot of different responses or responses, but sort of a broad indication of people's attitudes towards each other and towards media and brands, I suppose. What have we got here? I'm prepared to take out a loan to get something that I want. Okay, that's very important. A lot of people, they can't afford to, but people who are able to don't necessarily, just because they want something. People who like to try new things. So then we've got that. And you can see we've got a breakdown. Sometimes we've got a breakdown by LSM and male and female. Sometimes we've got a breakdown by color and male and female. So then we've got this environment. Okay, we've got a lot of different questions here. Are you concerned about poverty? What about family? Okay, so this attitude survey gives you a very, very good idea of what people think generally about things. Okay? And of course, every now and again, and there's your list of references, so you can see whether they based this on, somebody's, People magazine opinion piece, or whether it was, an actual academic journal article, or a textbook even, or a whatever, something that was recognized and reliable in terms of theory. I recommend that you go through this. I'm not going to go through all of this right now, but this appendix, for example, the first appendix of the survey, gives you an explanation of various things, and it also gives you a list of the questions that were asked. This is very important as well, because sometimes your methodology can be flawed in a survey, and then you get something that is maybe not an accurate reflection of the base that you have surveyed. So you have to be very, very careful about the questions and how you phrase them, and to make sure that there is no miscommunication or misinterpretation of the questions, and that they're also ethical and sensitive to people. So it is quite, particular. Constructing a survey is an art form, really. And if you take a look, we've got this section of the questionnaire. You have to remember that this attitude section of the questionnaire actually is part of the larger, it's All Media Product Survey. That's at AMPS. Okay, so this is what it actually looks like. Okay, I'll just give you a little bit of a glance through here. Again, I will put this up on the website, or on the in the description below the video, and also in the WhatsApp groups, so that you can have access to this as well. You can find it, but I'll just make it easier for you. So yeah, the W plan basically is to establish the credibility of each survey, and the reliability and the validity. So that you will have covered already. In your textbooks, page 56 and 57. Now, look, there are two different types of data. I don't know if this has already been mentioned in the textbook, because I haven't seen it, but I could have missed it. There are data sets that give you information about your audiences, okay, such as AMPs, or MAPs as they want to call it now, RAMs, TAMs, attitudes, all of those things, okay, great, that's all. But your audience measurement is data sets that relate specifically to audience preference. So, for example, if we go back to this, which I did before, this is all about how people prefer certain things, right? Now, if we go to, say, RAMs, for example, I want to go to a basic, okay, radio listening, previous releases. Let's just go straight here. This gives you, now, RAMs is Radio Audience Measurement Survey. This is not people's preferences in terms of how they feel, but people's preferences in how they act. This kind of thing you can get also. It's part of the SAF suite, but then you'll get this kind of data from stations themselves as well, for example. And this is really about information about the platform rather than about the people, the audiences. Because, you can ask, do you prefer listening to radio or TV? And that's, one thing. But then you go, okay, well, we've actually got statistics here on who was listening to what radio station for the past 7 days in October 2014. Okay, so this kind of data here is about the platforms. This kind of data is about the people. And they do come in different formats, obviously, but you have to decide which type of data you want for what kind of research. If you want to decide whether to use 5FM or East Coast Radio, you're not going to go to this one. Okay? You're going to go to, and I'll go back again. Sorry. Sometimes I'm an idiot. Oftentimes I'm an idiot. You're going to go to radio, commercial radio, because it's commercial radio. Okay? And then you can decide, well, 5FM, between May and August 2014, when the survey was conducted, people over the last 7 days listened to 5FM this much, and 702, 94.7. Okay, so we've got all of these different statistics right there. Whereas this gives us preferences. So I want to talk to you quickly about, okay, I'm still on this page. I'm going to go down to free data, because nothing is free, really. You have to pay for all the data that you get. Market research, audience research is big business. And so let's look at free data. So there's all of this stuff here that you can get supposedly for free. I'm going to go to AMPS Online. And it takes me to 80/20, which is a market research company. Okay, so we've got all of these interesting products which they sell. Okay, and I'm going to go to the market segmentation tool. This intelligent tool trawls through the latest AMPS survey to offer a comprehensive overview of a selected customer segment or multiple segments, which is basically what you're looking for when you're doing market segmentation. Okay, so the market segmenter tool is exactly what we've just said. And who can benefit from it? all of the people doing media planning. And how does it work? The Segmentor report is provided in an Excel spreadsheet with ready-to-use data tables on various factors including demographics, communications, alcohol, clothing, media, fast food, and other things. Okay, so let's look at a sample Segmentor report. Oh boy. And let's put my email address in here. You can do this too. Download. Okay, so I've just gone onto my email account and opened up the link and downloaded the Segmentor, and it's given me this little spreadsheet here. And it gives me a comparison of Carling Black Label and Windhoek Lager drinkers. And these are the segment sizes. So the respondents here for Carling Black Label, they are the people who prefer Carling Black Label, and it's 1,798,039. And then the segment size for Windhoek Lager, these are the people who prefer Windhoek Lager, 415,913. Okay, so then what I can do is click on any one of these and go, okay, well, which cigarettes do these guys prefer? You can also look at it at the bottom here. And there we go. These are the smoking statements. So I smoke but intend stopping in the near future. That many Black Label drinkers and that many Windhoek Lager drinkers. I have never smoked. That many and that many. I smoke and I have no intention of stopping. Proudly smokers. Way more Black Label drinkers than Windhoek Lager drinkers, as you can see. I used to smoke, but I've stopped. Okay, and then we have those. And I stopped smoking, but I have started again. Good for you. And Carling Black Label drinkers, 110 of them have, and only 17,000 Windhoek Lager drinkers have. So this is the graph comparing. I'm not sure if we can find any more information on that. No. So it's literally just about whether they have started or stopped, or not intending to stop, intending to stop, whatever. Okay, so that's a pretty good and interesting crosstab as well, because if you take a look, most of the respondents for Windhoek Lager have never, well, not most of them, but a fair portion have actually never smoked, which is really interesting. Hey, Kenneth. Kenneth's coming for lunch. Okay, so let's take a look at another one. People's attitudes towards cell phones. Black Label. By and large, a massive portion of Black Label drinkers are on prepaid. Okay, and again here we've got Vodacom and MTN being the winners for Black Label drinkers. Okay, let's look at one more. I'm guessing attitudes towards crime. Okay, have you personally been a victim of non-violent crime in South Africa in the past 12 months? And so most Black Label drinkers said no, and most Windhoek Lager drinkers said yes. Interesting, I think. Yeah, that is really weird. Anyway, and what else have we got? Did you report this non-violent crime to the police? Some said no, some said yes, but in most cases, both did. So we've got this, can you see how it's an interesting correlation that we've got? We can do this kind of crosstab with different different sort of aspects of society and different attitudes. There's different also things like appliances. What do you have? Where do you buy? That kind of thing. So, bought new furniture, bought an appliance. New household accessories. Okay. So, what kind of TV did you get? What appliances do you have in your household? Do you have that? And so you can see that these are actually really interesting, especially if you are marketing, for example, Windhoek or Carling Black Label. You know, you can see what kind of lifestyles and what kind of attitudes they have towards things. Levels of education. Okay. Provinces. Community sizes. Metro areas. And then it breaks it down even further. Occupation. Work status. Okay, so this is all really interesting, and again, it's useful in terms of this particular product, Black Label and Windhoek. If you are marketing these two, then these are the kinds of details that you want to know about your audiences. And especially if you're comparing the two. Say, for example, you're a marketing or a media planner at SAB. Windhoek is your direct and most prominent competition. So you want to take a look and go, okay, well, what are they doing, and what are their consumers doing, and how can we try and win them over? Okay, I'm not going to go on too much further with this, but you know, as you can see, this kind of segmenter is really useful. And of course, it's brought to you by Marketing Research Foundation. Thank you very much. So that is your 80/20 they call themselves an analytics consultancy. Okay, and they get all of this data and they process it to make it more user friendly. Now, if you'd read or if you'd watched the video here on media planning software, then you would see that actually this is the kind of thing that people are doing. I've tried to give you a pretty broad perspective on what's available out there, because there's not just one software tool. There are plenty of software tools out there, but obviously only some are going to be relevant to the South African market, which is where we are focusing on at the moment. But you have to be able to shift your skills across to different tools if you understand the basis of what a segmentation tool is and how data products operate. Then it doesn't really matter which one you use. You can quickly adapt and be able to use whichever one you find yourself facing in your circumstances. So now that we have gone through all of that, I think it's time to finish off. Please will you make sure that you complete this exercise. It's really important. use your chosen rescue foundation from the last lecture and make a list of all the information or data you would need and from which source in order to better understand the potential audience for a fundraising campaign. Remember, it's a fundraising campaign. You want people to give money to your chosen organization. So you have to firstly know the organization, where it operates, and what it does, what services it provides, because some rescue shelters also offer a grooming parlor and kennels where you can put your animals when you go on holiday, for example. And others are simply just non-profit organizations that focus on animal welfare. So do your research on your chosen foundation, and then, bearing in mind that this is for a fundraising campaign, make a list of the information or the data that you would need. You don't have to go, I would like to have SAF attitude survey from 2019 or whatever. But you do need to at least go, okay, we need demographics, we need whatever. I'm not going to do it for you. So, yeah, just attempt it. Because, and also, try and go on the site, this site here, click around, look at these different things, try and read the crosstabs, go through it, and just look through the information and familiarize yourself with it, because the more you understand it and the more you can make sense of it, the easier it is to process when we get further on in the course. Okay, so that's pretty much all from me for today. Again, ask the questions. If you have trouble understanding, the only way that you can solve that problem is to ask the questions. And until we meet again, thank you so much. Take care, keep warm, keep safe, and adieu. Love you, bye.